Let's take a detailed look at knitting the hem portion of a hem top sock. We start with waste yarn in a color that contrasts sharply with the main yarn you plan to use, and arrange the yarn tails so that every needle will receive a strand of yarn. Knit the first main yarn round slowly and carefully, and if, like me, you have a mishap, do not panic. Lift the rungs from the ladder below. If it's only one or two, it'll be fine. There'll still be enough weight on it. The flaw is only in the waste yarn. And now we're going to knit 20 total rounds of main yarn. It can be more, but that's a hem that I like, and it will be about 1 inch wide. Now remove the weights and carefully reach down inside. What we want to do is hang the first main yarn round on the working needles. This will make a permanently closed and finished doubled hem. You want to try to keep the knitting relaxed so as to be able to easily see the bars from the stitches of the first row. And this is why we use sharply contrasting waste yarn. I'm looking for pinkish or reddish, which is all what the main yarn is. There is no yellow in the main yarn. The waste yarn was yellow, so it's not very hard to see what bars to pick up. It is absolutely essential that you pick up every single one, because when we remove the waste yarn, any stitches that are not hung now will be loose stitches and they could run. It's not impossible to find a way to fix it, but it's altogether better to avoid it. At some angles, it is very hard to turn your wrist so this works. So it can be best to knit sort of in the middle of a room so that you can move your knitting chair around. Good light is a must, and possibly you may want to use magnifying glasses even if you don't need them normally, depending on the state of your vision. It's important to handle the fabric very gently. We don't want any of the waste yarn or other fabric hanging on the needles without our permission. We only want these bars at the bottom of the first row of real stitches. The yarn carrier will be in the way of your work. For this sock, it was resting here and needed to move around here out of the way so that I could finish hanging the hem. We mustn't even try to knit without some pull down on the fabric. You can do it with your hands or hang the sock weights back on, but don't forget or you will get a snarl one way or the other. If you do use the weights, be sure to remove them again so that we can finish hanging the fabric without too much pull down. And now finish hanging the remainder of the round. This one is good to look at for a couple of reasons. Nice contrast between the two yarns makes it very clear what was picked up and hung. And also this job went as planned. The last needle that knitted waste yarn was here. The first that knitted main yarn is here. After the work is off of the machine, we can neaten up this tail and pull it in between the layers of the sock hem. Every time we pass this point, one new round has been completed, so that's how we count. We'll leave the waste yarn alone for now and remove it when the sock comes off of the machine. And now, after the hem, comes the leg portion from hem to ankle. And that's just knitting in the round, cranking away. Generally, I knit 50 rounds for the leg of lady socks and 60 for men, and I'll go into that a little bit more in the patterns themselves. But you have a certain amount of leeway here. However, this simple kind of hem top socks is not designed to be over the calf socks. Here's one of the red pair in progress. Slowly and carefully knitting the first round after hanging, and after that you can go more quickly. Those flaws down there in the waste yarn aren't going to make the slightest bit of difference. Remove the waste yarn by snipping the row that adjoins the main yarn in about 4 places, and then you can pull those little pieces right out. Here's one of the red ones just off of the machine. The hem will flatten out a little bit more after it's been washed and dried. Many times people wonder if hem top socks stay up, And at the length I make them, they stay up beautifully. We have no trouble with them. And they're actually preferred for whereby diabetics and those who have problems with swelling feet.